5th Dragon flight just this year. Dragon is the first private spacecraft to take humans to the orbiting lab, having flown 300,000 pounds of cargo and more than 1,000 experiments to space, as well as 70 crew members representing 20 countries. Our versatile Dragon spacecraft can autonomously dock with the International Space Station when outfitted with a docking adapter, which is just how it's configured for today's flight. And when it's not going to the space station and it's in free flyer mode, the docking adapter can be swapped out for a cupola, as it was back during the Inspiration 4 mission. And another option we have is the Skywalker hardware, which supports extravehicular activities or spacewalks, as we did during the Polaris Dawn mission. And here's some interesting trivia. There has been a Dragon in space for 1,358 consecutive days since Crew 3.
And that's an impressive stat, too. And with T-minus 0...
Stage 2 LOX load has started.
And with T-minus 0 coming up in just about a little more than 18 or 16 minutes or so from now, our team's continuing to do a series of system checks to ensure Dragon.
Dragon SpaceX for status update. Dragon and Falcon 9 are healthy, and we continue to load propellant. Weather is still our watch item. We are seeing some development in the area, so this is going to come down to a matter of time. We're going to keep an eye on it and continue marching towards T0, and we'll see if we manage to thread the clouds today.
Okay, Dragon copies. We've got a healthy rocket, healthy Dragon. Weather is continuing to develop. We'll keep going until we can't.
And great communications there between the team on the ground and with Crew-11 on board. And that's exactly what we're keeping an eye on, is not only the tanking of the rocket and that procedures, but also today's weather. And you heard that update right there. So to continue with the updates and kind of bring us up to speed on what's been going on, let's toss it to our teammate and Ronnie.
Thanks so much, Joseph. I can give you a little bit more color than we just heard, but obviously the important things we've heard are that we are still on track for an on-time liftoff today, but we're monitoring lots of different factors as we get closer to liftoff. If everything goes as expected, this is also going to be our last landing at LZ-1 today. So lots of different launch pads, landing sites, staging areas, lots of things in play. But the best news is that both Dragon and Falcon 9 continue to be healthy. You heard us wrap up Stage 2 RP1 loading just after T-minus 20 minutes, and Stage 2 liquid oxygen will begin here at about, or has begun already, excuse me. We've also heard that call out that the launch escape system is armed. Of course, the launch escape system, which we discussed in more detail yesterday, is designed to propel Dragon away from Falcon 9 in the unlikely event of an emergency during launch. We've also heard from the Eastern Range, which is monitoring keep-out zones among other key flight requirements today. They're continuing to report no issues, and they are go to support today's launch, weather depending. So again, as you just heard, weather is a watch item. We're now tracking a 60% chance of violation at our target liftoff time, with isolated showers in the staging area and some clouds building right over the launch pad. You are actually seeing them continue to grow on your screen right now. For now, though, we are go for the 6th mission of Dragon Endeavour, and I want to hand it back over to Sandra for a status update from Houston. Sandra?
Thanks, Ronnie. Back here in the International Space Station Flight Control Room at NASA's Johnson Space Center in Houston, teams are continuing to work around the clock to monitor activities aboard the Orbital outpost. Leading the team inside the room today is NASA Flight Director Anthony Varia. The team in Mission Control Houston, the team in Hawthorne, and the astronauts aboard the space station will track the autonomous docking of Dragon Endeavour when they enter joint operations. This will happen when the spacecraft enters the approach ellipsoid, which is the invisible boundary, stretching 4 by 2 by 2 kilometers that helps us monitor all arriving and departing spacecraft. It's essentially the neighborhood of the International Space Station. Once docked, crew members in both Dragon and aboard the International Space Station will perform a series of leak checks, then work to open the spacecraft's hatch for Crew-11 to float into the space station and begin their stay. We anticipate that the hatch will be opened about an hour and a half after docking occurs, and when they enter the orbital outpost, Crew-11 will be greeted by the rest of their Expedition 73 crew and will come together for some opening remarks. For now, that's going to be all for us today here in Mission Control as the anticipation builds for launch in less than 13 minutes now. So how's it looking on the Space Coast, Daryl?
Well, Sandra, we wish it was looking better. We've just had a downgrade in the weather forecast from 60% go to only 40% go. The launch weather officer informing us that conditions are ripe, and we have even seen the development of cumulus clouds in the area, some that could trigger lightning if a rocket went through them. So this is a very high watch item at this moment, Nick.
Yeah, they're watching it to the, everybody is focused on crew safety at this point, making sure that we make the right call. But there's a chance, and I'll stay positive.
You've been positive. I appreciate that about you. You've done that throughout the broadcast. Here's a look from our helicopter flying over the spaceport right now. And this is the formation of the clouds that is a concern because it is so humid out right now. And we've got a sea breeze that is flowing over the warm land. It is just creating this convection around the spaceport. In fact, we are also expecting to go into a phase 1 lightning alert, which I hate to say it, but just before we scrubbed yesterday, Dick, that phase 1 lightning alert went into effect. So things are starting to stack up against us weather-wise. But nonetheless, it's at this point, because this is a fully automated fueling sequence, it behooves us to just continue to march to see if anything might just clear at the end.
Yeah, so there's been nothing that happened up to this point to stop the countdown. So proceed to T-0, and if the timing works out and the weather hasn't built to a significant enough level and it's safe to go, then let's go.
Absolutely, and it is an instantaneous window. So we are launching at 11:43 and 42 seconds. So it is literally the weather at that second that matters. And that's where we hope to see some type of positivity in that moment. But it's certainly something that all eyes are on around the Space Coast to see if this rocket is going to go today. In just about 20 seconds, we are going to hear from Zena Cardman, and she's going to say some words, Nick. She has some moving things to say.
Yeah, Zena is an amazing person, and watching her, along with Stephanie.
Dragon SpaceX confirmed crew displays are configured for launch.
You can.
SpaceX Dragon displays are configured for launch. To our family, friends, all who support us at SpaceX, NASA, JAXA, Roscosmos, thank you. Spasiba, arigato gozaimasu. For this freedom to explore, resilience to endure, may grace fly alongside this endeavor.
Crew-11, from all of us on the ground, we've enjoyed working with you in preparation for your mission. We look forward to continuing to do so in flight. Good luck. Enjoy the ride.
Yeah, and Zena, hitting the tone I would expect her to do. She is the consummate professional. Big message of thank you.
Yeah. The gratitude, the team focus, freedom, resilience. These are big themes. These are things that are important to her, and some great words from her. Let's send it now back out to our commentary team for the final minutes of Countdown. Joseph and Samya, take it away.
Thank you, Daryl. Thank you, Nick. And that was beautiful what Zena had to say and reflecting on family and friends, but also that great shot you saw in that 2 box. That was from the International Space Station, that view as the space station actually going right over Florida and the Cape. So it's not just those on the ground that are excited. It's their teammates aboard the orbiting laboratory as well. Well, we're closing in on launch, 8.5 minutes away. It'll be about a 9-minute ride to orbit, which is around the time of the second stage cutoff. Dragon and the second stage will continue to coast for a few minutes after that, and then prior to separation. You'll be hearing some performance calls as we get into the final countdown and then after liftoff. These are SpaceX flight controllers reporting on trajectory, speed, booster, and performance, and the key milestones, but there are some other calls that you'll hear the crew make as well after liftoff. The crew will report out a few number and letter combinations, which mark different abort zones throughout the flight uphill and up the eastern seaboard. The first two, 1A and 1B, those are abort modes available while the first stage is firing. Now the second are 2A through 2E. Those will come into play once the second stage kicks in, and then they'll only hear the 2A call out from the team. Diverting a little bit from that naming system, you'll also hear the call Shannon, which refers to Shannon, Ireland. This call means the crew could target off the coast of Ireland if they needed to abort late in that second stage burn. You'll hear these different calls throughout the flight uphill, along with key performance callouts from the guidance, navigation, and control officers, and also the propulsion lead. So we're closing in on T-minus now 7 minutes, and we continue to keep an eye on the weather.
One of the next callouts we're listening for is that stage 1 engine chill has started. That's coming up in just a few seconds. And that is a key process that prepares the engines for flight.
Engine chill has started.
Right on time. Right now, propellant in the tanks is isolated from the engines, but we'll open the engine pre-valves and start trickling some liquid oxygen through the Merlin engine pumps, chilling the engines for the start sequence. We do this because the super chilled and densified liquid oxygen is really, really cold, and we use this process to bring the engine hardware down to a cooler temperature before flowing all of the LOX and propellant into it during flight. At liftoff, Falcon 9 is consuming 700 gallons of fuel per second, so engine chill helps us to prevent thermal shock and ensures nominal engine performance. Shortly after, we should also hear the call out for stage 1 RP1.
Fuel load complete.
Right on time.
So now that engine chill is underway, we're looking ahead to the call out that RP1 load is complete, which just occurred a moment ago, and again prevents that thermal shock. You got to stretch before you can start running. And RP1 is densified kerosene or rocket fuel that will propel the crew into orbit. And all of that RP1 is now about to be fully loaded into the rocket, since we're previously heard that the second stage is completed, or about to be completed here in just a couple moments. And then while we're still loading liquid oxygen on that first stage and second stages. This is the oxidizer that is needed to combine with the densified kerosene that just finished up loading. The RP1 liquid propellant needs an oxidizer to combine with everything in order to ignite. Coming up at the 5-minute mark, we'll hear the call for Dragon to configure for terminal count and then transition over to into internal power. And that should be happening in about a little less than 30 seconds from now as we continue to close in on that T-0 mark.
So next up in the countdown, the transporter erector, or TE, will begin to retract from Falcon 9. That is the large truss structure you see there standing next to the rocket. It's hinged at the base and connected to the launch mount beneath the first stage. First, the clamps around the second stage will begin to
Falcon
open.
9 tanks are pressing for Strongback retract.
And we're hearing good callouts.
Dragon is in, configure for terminal count.
And we're continuing to hear great callouts over the nets. Then the TE will begin to pivot back, slowly swinging away from the rocket, and it will reach full recline in just about a minute.
Strongback retract has started.
And we are just beginning that Strongback retraction process. It's called the Strongback. It's also called the TE, or transporter erector. Same structure, different name. The TE does a lot more than just lean. It rolls Falcon 9 out to the pad, raises it vertical, and stays connected through the final seconds. It provides fuel, power, telemetry, and command connections between ground systems and the rocket. Those clamps at the top help stabilize the second stage during fueling, and they also help prevent movement in high winds. And once they open, which you can see on your screen, they are slowly pulling away. And once they open fully, the rocket is fully free at the top.
Propellant continues to be loaded late here in the countdown as we're approaching 3 minutes and 30 seconds. We're continuing to keep an eye on the weather, and that's going to be the biggest thing as everything continues to march towards that liftoff timeline. But you can see there the Strongback starting to move ever so slowly away from the rocket. The clamp arms are open, and you also see those white clouds starting to billow off the rocket itself. Those are perfectly normal as it's the coolness of the propellant on board is mixing with that warm Florida air, and that's what causes that boil off, and that you heard Nick talk about it earlier when you have that steam come off the rocket, so it looks like a lot of clouds billowing off it as well. But approaching the T-minus 3-minute mark, and that's when
Stage 1 LOX load complete.
And that's what I was about to say, is that you're going to hear that liquid oxygen load be complete. So everything is primed and pretty much ready to go. And you'll see, again, those white clouds of vapor and a great view of the entire rocket as we continue to build closer to launch. And, of course, liquid oxygen, super chilled.
Dragon
so a
is
little
in
bit
terminal count and on internal power.
boils off in that warm Florida air. And now Load complete. We're on internal power. And we're also going to hear gas closeouts are going to start to begin as well. And then everything will get vented overboard through the umbilicals and Strongback. You may hear some of that venting noise come in soon.
So LOX is still loading for approximately another 20 seconds on stage 2. And once that is complete, we'll vent down the TE, which will produce a white cloud off the side of the rocket, which is normal and expected, just as Joseph had mentioned. And once LOX load is fully complete, that will mean that there are 1 million pounds of propellant loaded onto Falcon 9, which will be RP1 and liquid oxygen. So that call out coming up.
Stage 2, LOX load complete.
Right there.
So we just heard that confirmation of stage 2 liquid oxygen now complete, as we are now 1 minute and 50 seconds away from launch. We'll also hear that the gas closeouts have started, so we can expect loud venting.
Is an auto idle.
You heard the call for auto idle. That puts the rocket in a state that the flight computers understand before it takes over, making sure that transition to the final countdown is smooth and that all flight computers on board are in sync
Ground gas
and configured.
closeouts, expect loud venting.
Configured for launch, and there's the closeouts we've been talking about and the venting that will be shortly followed. One minute and 10 seconds to liftoff of NASA SpaceX Crew-11.
FTS is armed. Falcon 9 is in startup and is now controlling.
Dragon is in countdown.
Flight computers switching to countdown mode now.
Dragon, SpaceX, go for launch.
SpaceX, Dragon, go for launch.
Seconds. Seconds. T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition. Ignition's full power and liftoff. Go Thomas, go NASA, go Crew-11.
Together we rise as NASA's SpaceX Crew-11 heads up to the International Space Station.
Vehicles pitching down range.
1.7 million pounds of
Stage 1
thrust.
propulsion is nominal.
Propelling Falcon 9 as the vehicle pitching down range and making its way up the East Coast, and will soon join Expedition 73 aboard the orbiting laboratory. So far, getting good callouts on that first stage performance.
We are now T plus 35 seconds into the Crew-11 mission on board Dragon and Falcon 9. The Falcon 9 engines
Stage 1 throttle down.
Are throttling down to help
Power and telemetry are nominal.
To help pass through the period of max Q, or maximum aerodynamic pressure on the vehicle during ascent.
Max Q.
We just had max Q right there.
Falcon 9 is supersonic.
1 minute 9 seconds into what is a little bit more less than a 9-minute flight uphill as Dragon continuing.
Stage 1 Bravo.
Copy. 1 Bravo.
And that 1 Bravo, again, that's the abort zone, that last abort zone for stage 1 if necessary. The crew already pulling over 2 Gs. And next, we're going to have a couple of events happen in rapid succession. We'll be getting ready for the second stage to warm up and have this second stage MVAC chill. And then we'll also have MECA, or main engine cutoff, where the 9 engines on the first stage will cut off ahead of the first and second stages. Will then be separating from one another. And then the single Merlin vacuum engine on the second stage will ignite and continue to carry Crew-11 to orbit, while the first stage begins its journey back to Earth, as we're now 1 minute and 56 seconds into today's flight.
The 9 Merlin engines are starting to throttle down and are standing by for MECA, or main engine cutoff.
MVAC chill has started.
And we just heard that call out for MVAC chill. And coming up in under like 20 seconds, we have 5 events happening back to back. MECA.
Stage 1 throttle down.
stage separation, stage 1 flip, SES-1, and the start of boost back burn. It's going to be pretty quick, so keep a close eye on the action and the mission event
Main engine cutoff.
tracker at the bottom of your screen.
Main engine cutoff.
Stage 2 Alpha.
Stage separation
Copy, 2
confirmed.
Alpha. And back ignition.
And there you see stage 1 pulling away, ignition of the lone Merlin vacuum engine for stage 2. And again, those happening in quick succession as we continue to get great views of that Florida coastline and the eastern seaboard there as Crew-11 continuing its path to orbit, now approaching 3 minutes into today's flight. Still a little ways to go, about 6 minutes left as they continue to climb their way up and eventually track down the International Space Station. And there, great see, you see the Merlin vacuum engine, the second stage on the right-hand side, and great views of the first stage that's making its return to Earth on the left. About 5.5 minutes of powered flight remaining as we continue to monitor the progress of both vehicles, stage 2 and Crew-11, making the climb uphill, and stage 1 looking to land again at landing zone 1, the last landing at that location for this Falcon 9 booster.
Dragon, SpaceX, nominal trajectory.
Dragon copies.
We're continuing to hear great call-outs over the nets that both Dragon and Falcon are right on track to orbit. So the first stage booster is now on its way to landing zone 1, and we just saw those grid fins open up on the left-hand side of your screen. The first stage has a couple events ahead of its landing. Stage 1 will start its entry burn, which will be the second of 3 burns to return the booster a few miles from its launch site at landing zone 1. During this entry burn, Falcon 9 will use its engines to pump the brakes to slow the vehicle down before it reaches the denser parts of the Earth's atmosphere. And if you didn't know, Falcon 9 has a complex heat shield that is designed to protect the engines and the vehicle from all that combined thermal and aerodynamic loading during max entry Q, which is the moment of max stress on the vehicle during entry. And that will be followed by a landing burn. And this burn will last for about...
Dragon, SpaceX, nominal trajectory.
Continuing to hear good call-outs.
Great performance calls continue as we're now 5 minutes into today's flight. Still about 8.5 to go. A little bit more than that as the second stage continuing to perform nominally on the right-hand side. 2,400 meters per second. Crew-11 cruising into the upper echelons of the Earth's atmosphere while we continue to monitor the second stage on that left-hand side. And we'll also get continued guidance and navigation call-outs from the control officers here in SpaceX. Dragon is pointed in the right direction and continuing its flight. And again, that second stage going to continue firing until close to that 9-minute mark into flight and accelerating Dragon to more than 17,000 miles per hour and placing the crew in orbit. And you'll hear good orbital insertion would be that call out. There's the single Merlin vacuum engine that can produce over 220,000
SpaceX, nominal trajectory.
pounds of thrust on that nominal trajectory you're hearing right now.
Copies.
And into the vacuum of space. Now approaching 6 minutes into today's flight, about 2 minutes and 40 plus seconds remaining.
We are coming up on the entry burn, which is just under 30 seconds from now. And so you'll see the first stage's center Merlin engine reignite as it comes back down to Earth. And after that, we will be approaching.
Entry burn startup.
And there's the beginning of entry burn right there. Again, this is the second of 3 burns to return the booster to landing zone 1.
Burn shutdown.
We just made it through entry burn.
And you're getting some great views, too, on that stage 1's return to the Florida coastline. Again, landing at landing zone 1. While on the right-hand side, the second stage. And that Merlin vacuum engine continuing to propel Crew-11.
Dragon, SpaceX, nominal trajectory.
Into orbit. And
Dragon copies.
And again, great. And now with about 2 minutes left of powered flight remaining, still receiving those great calls from the crew on the ground, and we're getting those relays from Crew-11 Commander Zena Cardman.
Stage 1 transonic.
We are now very quickly approaching the start of our landing burn, where 3 engines 1, 5, and 9, will relight to help slow the vehicle down just before it touches down on landing zone 1. We should hopefully have some great tracking shots of that.
Stage 1 landing burn.
Stage 2 FTS has stated.
Stage 1 landing leg deploy.
Fantastic return there of the stage 1 booster.
Final plan landing at LV1.
Another
successful landing of the first stage booster as we continue to follow along with a little less now than 1 minute of powered flight of the second stage. And you'll hear the call out SECO, or second engine cutoff, is a great view there, glowing orange with the Earth eclipsing right around that Merlin vacuum engine, and everything continuing to perform nominally for NASA
Stage 2
SpaceX
is in
Crew-11.
terminal guidance.
About 20 more seconds remaining of powered flight, and we'll get those call outs here shortly as everything continuing.
Shannon.
Copy, Shannon.
And there's the great call out for Shannon we talked about earlier, that last abort zone if necessary, where they can land off the coast of Shannon, Ireland.
SECO.
There we just heard that good call out for SECO, or second engine cutoff. Coming up next will be stage separation.
Dragon, SpaceX, nominal orbit insertion.
And that's the great call you want to hear.
Launch escape system disarmed.
A good look inside the trunk there as you're looking for that separation, but you wanted to hear that nominal orbital insertion as Crew-11 now has reached microgravity.
So now we'll continue to coast for a little bit after SECO to allow rates and motion from the burn to settle out. Right now we have a great view on our screen of the Dragon heat shield, actually, which is made up of similar materials. And there we have that Dragon and stage 2 separation as we see Dragon coast into its orbit.
And a wonderful view there is Dragon Endeavour with Crew-11 on board, safe.
Dragon separation confirmed.
And safe and
Dragon, Chief Engineer on Dragon to ground. Zena, Mike, Kimiya, Oleg, welcome to orbit. On behalf of the entire Falcon team, we thank you for flying with Falcon today and wish you a great mission. Dragon will take you from here. Over to Launch Director for a few words.
On behalf of the launch team, it's been an absolute honor working with you towards launch today. We wish you well on the rest of your mission, and we will be awaiting your safe return. Godspeed Endeavour, Godspeed Crew-11, and thanks for flying SpaceX.
SpaceX Dragon, I have no emotion but joy right now. That was absolutely transcendent. Ride of a lifetime. Thank you. This has been an incredible honor. And it's my privilege now to pass us along to Mike with some additional words.
Boy, it's great to be back in orbit again. Thank you to SpaceX and NASA to get us here. What a ride. And Zena and Oleg, let me be the second to welcome you to your first orbit around beautiful planet Earth. Kimiya-san, Okayeri Nasai, welcome back. And to the ISS Expedition 73 team, the crew on board and our friends in MCC, we're on our way. Over to you, Kimiya-san.
Okay. Thank you very much for everything. スパシバワンボイショーへありがとうございます。日本の皆さん、私も10年ぶりに宇宙に帰ってきました。ISS でしっかりと任務を果たして一等星のように輝いて、日本の素晴らしいところを世界中の人に知っていただきたいと思います。ありがとうございます。 Я передаю Олег-сан, пожалуйста.
Спасибо, Kimiya-san. Thank you very much. Arigato gozaimasu. And спасибо всем. I'd like for the beginning to say thank you very much, Roscosmos, SpaceX, and NASA for this unique opportunity to be here with my great crew. Дорогие друзья, находясь на космическом корабле и облетая нашу родную планету, я испытываю неописуемое счастье и восторг. Хочу выразить слова благодарности всей нашей стране, Соединенным Штатам Америки и России за эту уникальную возможность, а также Роскосмосу. Хочу выразить слова благодарности своей школе, в которой я учился, номер 103 в городе Челябинске, выразить благодарность Краснодарскому высшему военному авиационному училищу летчиков и 22-му гвардейскому истребительному авиационному полку, а также сотрудникам Центра подготовки космонавтов, кто искренне верил и болел за эту идею отправить меня в космос. Обещаю выполнить все поставленные передо мной задачи на отлично. Ура!
Crew-11, we copy all of your words. We are very excited for you to have reached orbit, and we will now proceed with getting you to the International Space Station. You have approximately 3 minutes left in this ground station pass if you'd like to introduce your zero-G indicator.
Copy all, Tremaine. Thank you so much. We'll get out our 5th crew member here in just a moment. This zero-G indicator honors a shared memory with our lead trainer, Paul Weiss. For all the mentors and team members who got us here through sacrifice of time and dedication, I hope we made you proud today. Thank you so much.
Some great words there from all 4 members of Crew-11 and the astronauts and cosmonauts, all that cadre. They're well on their way to the final destination, which they have about a 16-hour ride to do so, and the phasing to ultimately the International